right. Welcome, everyone, for another segment of Adam Interviews. We are just cruising now. We've had some wonderful interviews already, a lot of back-to-school stuff. And this one in particular I'm very excited about because it's venturing into my world. I've been a trail runner for a long time, did cross country in high school. I worked at a place called Medved, which was kind of a running and outdoor apparel store, and I befriended a lot of people there, including our interviewee today, Mort Nace. And Mort and I have known each other now, what, 25 years, something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
it's
at least.
It's up there. And, you know, thanks to Mort, I was able to discover the trails around the area beyond just the cross-country races like at Mendon Ponds and whatnot. And basically what I'm hoping to do is talk about trail running. If you're looking to get into it, how do you do that? If you are into it, how you can venture out and discover new places, and how anyone is insane enough to run 65 miles through some of the hardest terrain you'll ever know. But we're going to start with this. Mort, why don't we say, I know why I love trail running, but what is it about trails that drew you to them?
Trail running more than road running, for me seems the number of things. It seems more like play, where it's constantly stimulating. Whether it's in the next view, the animal that I encounter, it is constantly occupying my mind, and it's just simply fun. It's, as far as wear and tear, I find it's a little easier on the body as I age. I'm grateful for that, and ultimately I just love where my head goes when I'm on the trails. It's my place, and
it's my place. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, I'll be glad to share it. But it's just simply more fun for me. And I'll talk with people, aren't those hills so hard? Well, they're easier for me because I want to be there, whereas the roads can be a bit more monotonous and more of a grind for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know everyone always talks about, well, the trails in Oregon, or, you know, trail racing in, you know, Colorado and whatnot. I've had the great fortune of doing trail running in many different places. It's hard to beat upstate New York, especially the Finger Lakes area, in my opinion. I know I'm a homer and all that, but what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I completely agree. We've got so much available to us just within Rochester alone, but travel a little bit just outside the county and get down to the Finger Lakes. But what I think is special about trails too is, and what I enjoy about traveling and experiencing different trails, is how different they can be state to state, or then just season to season. You run any trail in the summer, well, it's going to look quite different in the fall, and then significantly even more different during the winter. But if you're running roads in a lot of places, the storefronts tend to look the same. You'll run past the same fast food restaurants, that sort of thing. But if you run the trails in Oregon or Colorado and Rochester, they're so different. The vegetation, the landscape, the air, you know, it's so arid in some of the places you're talking about, where here we've got to manage humidity, and but how lush our trails are compared to some other places. But we have nothing to be disappointed about in terms of difficulty, if you want that. If you'd rather run easy trails, we have that too. But just the experience here is just as special as it is anywhere else that I've run.
Absolutely. And I have to say, for as much as I loved running in Colorado, once you get into the foothills, I found that you're either going up for a long ways and then you're going down for a long ways. A lot of the terrain around here, what I love is it's rolling, so you kind of get a variation in your run.
Absolutely. A lot more roller coaster here. We've got some great rail trail systems though too. So if you just want to appreciate getting away from traffic, but as a gateway to trail running something a little bit softer, but it's straight, can't get lost, and but still kind of have that same trail experience that you and I enjoy.
Yeah, I've tried, by the way, and I've been successful at points. See, the problem is you say that, but then you're running these rail trails, let's say Auburn or Lehigh, and they offer little like side trails, and I get so tempted, I venture off of there, and the next thing I know, I'm like, what street am I on? It dumps you off on like, like, how did this happen? But to that point though, those trails, whether it's Auburn or Lehigh or Genesee, I have been taken aback. Here I have been running, you know, this area for years. I discovered that maybe during the pandemic, actually. I can't believe how extensive they are.
Oh, you can run all the way to Mount Morris and beyond. and then they connect. So if you kind of know where you're going, yeah, you can make some very long runs out of those options. I have a favorite loop. I will ride more than run because it's over 40 miles, connecting the Auburn to the Lehigh to the Greenway up to Genesee Valley Park and connecting to the canal. Then will take me home by connecting at the end there to the Auburn. So takes a little bit of map reading, but so many of these things can be connected and be as long or as short as you want.
How have you found the trails, the upkeep on the trails in our area?
Depends on what section you're talking about. For the most part, they're pretty well traveled. It's stepping outside of Rochester. We talked a little bit about the Twisted Branch course, and some of that Finger Lakes Trail can feel very remote, and you're more likely there to encounter some blowdown or
What's blowdown?
Storm has passed by, some trees have fallen, and they just lay there and just stay put unless you've got a kind volunteer that, who's willing to come through and clean that up. But generally within Rochester, I think most of the trails are pretty well traveled, so the upkeep is pretty decent.
For those who are listening to this and saying, I've run roads my whole life, I'm comfortable, where do I start? Well, first of all, what gear do I get? What do I need? Where do I go for something like this?
As far as getting started, I think it's a good idea to have company, especially as you learn to read a trail, which way to go. Because the concern is always that I'm going to get lost. I might get injured. MedVed, we offer weekly trail runs for this idea to introduce people to the trails. We'll run for an hour every Wednesday night on many of the different trail systems. We rotate those every week. So we offer a group. It's guided by store ambassadors as well as staff, and no one gets left behind. So that is a great option. And we're not out there running really fast paces either. We generally will run 4 to maybe 5 miles within that hour, always taking a few pauses throughout the run to make sure we take a head count that we've got everyone. But that is a great option. But if you're taking that out on your own, good idea to get a map or use an app. Trails Rock is a local group who has a really helpful app to give you an idea where to go, but then also while you're out there, which turns to take and that sort of thing. So a great resource for someone who's getting started, but a good idea to run with company just so that two heads or two brains are better than one as far as making decisions as to where to go. And but I have found I've learned the trails best when I have run alone and had the time as well to make mistakes. Okay, I should have gone this way, and get a general idea of the geography and the roads around to so that going forward I can make better decisions.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten lost. It's embarrassing. It increases my mileage for the week, I'll tell you that.
Oh, it will for sure. That's why I stress you have to have the time to get lost if that's something that's important to you. But that's where Mendon Ponds is a favorite place of mine, and I can't get lost there now. I would know the entire park, but early on had to run and take the wrong turn. Okay, make a note of the wrong turn. Okay, I'm at this road, and then figure it out. And then, so it's easy to get caught up in a group and just get caught up in chatter and not pay attention to where you're going. So that can be fun, and that's great if that's what you want. But if you really want to learn it, I found that running solo has been what's best for me because I'm forced to make all the decisions and as well as correct mistakes I've made.
100%. Type of the difference between trail shoes and running shoes, what are they mainly?
There are a number of different kinds of trail shoes. So I'll split it into two groups. There are trail shoes that I would call a hybrid option, kind of versatile to run a little bit of pavement as well as some trail. Maybe you need to connect pavement to get to or run from home to the trail kind of thing. So a little bit more cushioning underfoot, not quite as aggressive as far as tread pattern. And then shoes that are more specific to just trail running. They generally will have a more aggressive tread pattern, be a little lower to the ground, so they're more stable when you're encountering the uneven terrain. Usually they're made of more durable components to handle the wear and tear that you're going to encounter on trails. that's kind of generally it.
Yeah, I've seen a few people run trails in those almost like sock type things that go over your toes, like one by one. And I just can't process that. As I have slammed into rocks and roots so many times, and I have thanked the toe guard that a lot of trail shoes offer. I just can't imagine running in those things.
It's like many things. There's something for everybody. There's some runners will go pretty minimal with trails because the trails absorb a lot of the impact.
Yeah.
But as I've gotten older, I do enjoy having a bit more cushioning, protection underneath the foot. If there's any trend in trail running right now, it favors the more maximum cushioned options, the taller stack heights, as we call it, the thicker
Even in
midsoles.
trail shoes, I know that's been a thing in the road races. I didn't realize that was moving into trails as well.
Yeah, for sure. I've enjoyed them. I've got some favorite, and they've got pretty good stack height. So it absorbs the pounding that there still is on the trails, and it's what's worked for me. And I tend to like going a little bit further as opposed to shorter.
So you're already a tall guy. So people are going to think they're seeing Bigfoot out there. If you stack yourself up like that.
Yes.
So one of the things that Mort started has become a wonderful tradition in my life. It's called the Muddy Sneaker, and it's over at High Tour Wilderness area, which is right in Naples area. It's on the eastern side of Naples, beautiful wilderness area run by the DEC. And this has been run since 2000, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct, yeah.
And I've been trying to get to as many as possible over the years. It's 20K, 12.4 miles of just a grind, and but it's a beautiful thing. And I took my good friend on it this past season in April, and it was like a life-altering experience for him. And before we get into what the Muddy Sneaker is and what it's like, I'd love for you to go over how did it start?
So I co-directed Muddy Sneaker with a good friend, Tim Rutowski, and he and I wanted to bring trail racing to the Rochester that represented us well, the kind of trail racing we like to do. He and I had raced in Colorado as well as Michigan, and we felt Rochester lacked the kind of trail running that we like to do. And we knew of High Tour. We had hiked the Conklin's Gully that runs through High Tour, and it's kind of a centerpiece of the Muddy Sneaker. And Tim set out a course on the trail up above around the gully, and we were hoping to have a race that landed somewhere between 15 and 30K. Difficult, but not an ultra. And Tim's course landed us right around 12 miles. So we settled in on 20K once we really set out what the start and finish would end up being. And I think it represents us well. It's difficult, and that was the goal, to offer a really challenging race, but at the same time, hopefully it's a fun thing. And we had never directed a race before, but we thought in 2000 it was time that we finally give it a shot. And you were one of 65 that very first year that gave it a shot. And thankfully from there, we've sold out every year. We do cap the number just so that, for a couple of things. We want to make sure we're not having a negative impact on that area, that we love that area, and we don't want so many runners coming through that we're destroying the place. So we're mindful of our impact, but there are also no resources there. High Tour is amazing, but there's no water source, there's no electricity. So we also have to have a good idea how many people we're going to have. We can't have surprises in terms of hydrating runners if you get a really warm day or a cold day. I mean, we can't have surprises regardless. And so we do cap the runners for those reasons.
Yeah, it's become something of a cult following. So if you are interested, you're going to have to find the time and beat me to signing up. And I will say this, if you are interested, it is actually accessible. In the world of trail racing, it is rather accessible, though you run 10 miles, you're super, super tired, and then the last 2 miles, it starts, you have to run through the creek there, and then you're at the very base of High Tour, and then you start, and what is it, maybe a quarter mile of just, you're grappling. I mean, you're just kind of grabbing trees, and they call it the demoralizer. I've now called it the demortalizer. And we talk about it all the time. I mean, it's tough.
It is tough. You're forgetting the descent down to the bottom of the gorge, though.
For good reason.
To get to that point, you've got a pretty good drop to the bottom of the gully before you have to climb up the other side. And that does punch you in the mouth pretty good before you've got the gradual grind of the last mile plus to get to the finish line. So maybe that sounds more intimidating than it is, but there is a significant amount of elevation change throughout the run.
Yeah. So if someone is trail running and they're kind of stuck in their ways, they have found their trails. You had mentioned one app. My father-in-law is using I think it's called like All Trails or something like that. Is that a decent app as well?
It is, yeah. Yep. That is, I believe, more nationwide. That's
definitely nationwide.
Yeah, that's something you can use throughout the entire U.S., where Trails Rock is a local group who directs races as well as they've created this app. So I would trust them to the Trails Rock app to really know the local trails intimately. But All Trails is also a great option for sure.
And the thing about trails in general, and I hope to have you back to kind of talk about not just trail running, but trails in general, what I've found fascinating is you have some trails that span several states that cross through our area. And I want to talk about what those are, but in addition to that, how I find it fascinating that those who man or oversee those longer trails, they depend on local people to really help out with certain parts of it, like even the Finger Lakes Trail is part, I think, of the North Country Trail, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. So there's a lot of cooperation within the trail community.
Well, for sure. I mean, these trails, some of them are very remote and rely on volunteers for upkeep. But the FLT will run from Allegheny State Park all the way to the Catskills, and you can connect to the Appalachian Trail. So yeah, you can go. You can go on a long walkabout from Rochester. You can end up heading west on the North Country Trail into the northern parts of Michigan and beyond, as well as heading east and through the Catskills and connect. Take a little walk all the way down to Georgia or up to Maine if you choose.
That is unbelievable.
But years ago, we had a project through the shop where, as a group, we were going to run the entire FLT. You know, you run this section, I'll run this section, but as a whole, we're going to experience the FLT. And it was so cool to get into these very remote parts. A favorite part of mine was landed between, it was just east of Cortland. And I don't know when the last time it felt like it had been years maybe since someone had walked this trail.
Oh my
But I'm
goodness.
out there running, and it was I thought, just a very cool experience. And then connecting with friends, you know, we were leapfrogging one another just to cover the mileage and then regrouping, and we each had our own experience to share. It's awesome.
I salivate over those experiences. In fact, it was interesting to me. My wife and her family, they have been vacationing in Allegheny State Park for decades. I think since the 40s or something like that. And we were hiking on one of the southern trails there, and I saw an FLT sign. And it said start of the FLT or something like that. Yeah. I was like, how is this? This is unbelievable to me. And it's this world that here I thought I was part of it. But the more you dig, the more you realize how much there is out there.
There's so much available. And thank you to all the landowners who are willing to have this trail bisect their land, or it's at the very edge of their crops. You know, I've seen this trail snake around on different properties, and I'm thankful these owners are willing to let this exist throughout the entire state and beyond, you know.
Yeah, they see something bigger than themselves in this. I think that's fantastic. And then when you do those long trails, are there a lot of roads involved with those, or? There
can be, just to connect these trail systems for sure. Oh yeah. Yeah. Sometimes they're more extensive than others, but yeah, that's inevitable that there will be some sections of road to connect these pieces. Yeah.
And I heard, is it true the North Country Trail might try and expand to Vermont? I was reading a rumor about that. I don't know if you've read anything, but I do. Everyone always talks about the Appalachian Trail, but I'm wondering how many people kind of try to do start to finish on something like North Country or some of the other longer ones.
I don't know the answer to that, because Vermont already has the long trail that runs from from Massachusetts up to the Canadian border.
I didn't know about that.
And I think it's about 100 miles. The southern end of it, about 100 miles of that is also the Appalachian Trail before the AT then heads through New Hampshire and up to Maine. And then Vermont also has the Catamount Trail, which is a great winter trail as well. So I'm not sure what the North Country Trail would have in mind, if it's in addition to that or just linking up to
Maybe
those
just
existing
linking.
trails. Yeah.
Man, can you imagine? Is there any trail linking? So I know we got Finger Lakes going to Lake Buffalo area that you know of.
So the FLT has several branches.
Oh, okay.
So there are branches around Buffalo. We have the Bristol Springs branch of the Finger Lakes Trail that goes from Ontario County Park to Hammondsport. And there is the section that goes up into Letchworth. So there are these branches off of the FLT, and I'm not going to be able to name them all, but there are several of them along the way, including near Buffalo as well as Syracuse.
And so it's not just one winding path. There's lots of other branches.
Correct. The main FLT is white blazes, where like the Bristol Springs branch, you'll encounter orange blazes.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Look at this. I'm learning things left and right here. So obviously you have the 20K trail races. You have some ones that are even shorter too. And then you have these crazy ones. What do they call them? Ultras? Is that the... And the Twisted Branch, which was this past weekend, was 100K, so
Correct.
65 miles roughly.
Yep.
And then we just did a feature. Ron Spitzer was talking to two guys who are going to go out to Oregon for the Oregon Cascades, do 100 miles.
You talk with Charlie?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Charlie Ruff, I think.
Correct, yeah.
Is this okay for the body? Like that's a lot.
Oh, none of this that we're talking about is a smart thing to do.
Okay, all right.
Is it okay for the body? Obviously, there's wear and tear with it. Yeah, I mean, now I'm approaching 60, and I've got some parts that are angry with me. But when you balance that with what it does for your headspace, I think it's okay. I think it's very okay.
Yeah.
But it's managing life with physical fitness, and yeah. So it's not easy.
Yeah.
I find as I get older, doing the maintenance work is important. The strength work, the flexibility, balance, are all things I try to find time for, so that I can still enjoy running, though not at the speeds that I once ran.
And I think that for me has been the transition over the last few years, is being okay running at the comfortable pace. What pace is right for me in the moment, because there are times I can't do the stretching, the yoga to prepare myself, and therefore I shouldn't go out and push it, because you don't want to be sidelined for a little bit. So
Right.
no, highly, highly recommend. And then the communities out there, you were saying that running with someone is always nice. You have the Wednesday night runs through MedVed. Any other communities out there for trail running that people should know about?
Well, Trails Rock has their group runs as well. So they're a great resource for every facet of trail running. So reaching out to them and they're also great at having these introductory runs. They're really welcoming to people who are new to it, as we try to be. And I mean, there's still the Oven Door runners out of Bushnell's Basin.
Oh, they're still around?
They're still around. Depending on the day, I believe they still combine road runs with trail runs, depending on what the interests are that particular morning. Genesee Valley Harriers is a cross-country racing focus group, and a lot of them do also trail race. So they'd be another resource for someone, I think, who is interested in being more competitive. Yeah, so just within Rochester, those are some of the highlights for me.
Yeah. No. So, all right. So let's say someone gets in touch with you after this, and they say, "All right, Saturday morning, I'm going to have 3 hours. Give me a run. I can do maximum 10 miles. Where would you send them? Give me an example."
Well, I first ask them where do they live, what's closest to home, because if it's not everybody gets excited about having to drive an hour to get their run started. You know, obviously, running outside the door is convenient. So if they happen to live, and if it's their first trail run, I would probably set them up with something like an out and back, so it's a little easier to follow. So that's what would favor one of the rail trails, I think. If you can get to the Auburn Trail or the Lehigh Valley Trail, it's pretty easy to tell them just to run out and back within the time that they have. If to send them to the parks where they have to make decisions on turns and things like that for their first trail run, that can be quite a lot. So unless they have someone to run with who can be sort of a guide for them to send them out there on their own, I need a better sense of how adventurous they are, because they'd have to be okay with making some mistakes, getting lost a little bit, hopefully carrying, for that length of time you're talking about, hopefully they have the ability to carry some water, maybe a snack, because another thing about trail running, for someone who's new to it, their perspective on time needs to change, their mile pace, what they're used to, what running used to look like. They're going to generally be slowed down on the trails, depending on the trail. So if you're running a flat rail trail, you're going to run at a different pace than if you head to Mendon Ponds or say High Tour, where you're adding a lot of elevation change. Well, that's just naturally going to slow you down. If there are more roots and rocks than they're used to, that's going to slow you down.
Yeah.
So
no question.
Yeah.
It's a loaded question there. Then is this something people can do year round in our area?
Absolutely. Yes. Just the gear changes. And we like to say that there is no bad weather. You just have to embrace what's out there. And we don't like to hibernate much at MedVed. We do encourage people to run. If there's some snow and ice in the ground, then you're talking about maybe putting some traction on your existing shoes. There are a handful of waterproof shoes made for the customer who that's important to. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's great clothing that can manage temperatures, and so that whether it's snowing, maybe it's a little more intense than that. The wind chill can be a bit, an obstacle for some during the winter. So we having the right gear as far as that goes. If there's enough snow in the ground, once upon a time we used to do some snowshoe racing or snowshoe training. Haven't needed that quite as much as we used to, but that is also that's a great way of getting onto your favorite trails during the winter. If there's a lot of powder, snowshoeing is fantastic when there's a decent amount of fresh powder on the ground and there's even less impact. And most of us have to go, if we're going to train outside, most of us have to go out when it's dark during the winter. So grabbing a headlamp. But if there's snow on the ground and you've got some decent moonlight, that is magic. I mean, it's a reason to go out. And it's not everybody's thing. But yeah,
all right.
Running by moonlight with white powder on the ground.
Yeah, man, you're almost making me look forward to winter.
No.
Mort Nace, I can't thank you enough for coming in, chatting with me about this. It's weird that I'm chatting with someone who's almost killed me through the muddy sneaker, but I'll thank you all the same. But seriously, thank you for all the experiences over the years and for promoting this wonderful activity that I think can elevate people in more ways than one.
Yes, I think there's so much just beyond the physical value of running, trail running, that people enjoy, and it's changed my life, and I appreciate the opportunity to chat about it.
Of course. Mort Nace, thanks so much. So feel free to let people know about this so they can go on and watch if you've enjoyed this. And 8 o'clock every weeknight, we're going to have someone new through the Adam Interview series. Going to try to vary it up here and there, keep it interesting, and we certainly have done that today. Thank you again to Mort Nace and the crew over at MedVed for continuing to push people out onto the road and the trails. Take care.
Get the Rochester First streaming app today for everything you love from News 8 On Demand, plus exclusive shows you won't see anywhere else. Search ROC and download for free on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.